Hey everyone, Emily here and welcome to my kitchen. One of the biggest reasons that I love to cook and bake so much is because of my grandma. I grew up spending a lot of time with her, and more often than not, we'd be in the kitchen putting something together. Well, she's 99, and the other day she sent me a letter and she included one of her recipes in there. This is actually in her own handwriting if you can see it, and these are called Fruit Betty cookies, and she has a couple of notes on here. It's a pretty old recipe. She has 1931 to 1950 written on here, and also includes that this is her mother's recipe, so my great-grandma. I have made these before, and I remember my grandma making these as well, so I thought it'd be fun to put these together today. It's a really easy recipe. I'll show you how to make this. This is a pretty basic cookie bar recipe, but like many older recipes, there are very few directions. Luckily, I know exactly how to put this together. Very easy to follow. I'm gonna start by creaming together my butter and sugar, and this calls for 1.5 cups of brown sugar. I'm going to firmly pack my brown sugar and put it directly into my bowl. I'm a little shy on brown sugar, just by about 1/4 cup, so I'm just going to top that off with white sugar, and I'll throw in just a little bit of molasses. If you didn't know, you could actually make your own brown sugar by combining white sugar and molasses, and you can whip that together. So it's an easy substitute if you don't have brown sugar, but you do happen to have molasses. It was such a small amount that I was short on that I'm not going to be too exact. I'm just going to plop in maybe a teaspoon or so of molasses into my white sugar. Now we'll beat this together to combine it before adding in my butter. Once this is pretty well combined, I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 cup of butter. I've had this butter sitting out on the counter for about an hour, so it is slightly softened. And a little trick is after you take your butter out of the sheets, you're going to reserve these and use them to grease the pan. That's what my grandma always did. Now I'm going to cream my butter and sugar together on low speed. We're not quite there yet in consistency, but I'm going to go ahead and scrape the sides of my bowl and then continue whipping this until it's well combined and a little bit fluffy. Now I'm going to get started with my dry ingredients. I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon baking soda and about a teaspoon of salt. And then to that, I'm going to add in 1.5 cups of flour. It's important when you are measuring your flour that you don't scoop directly into the bag with your measuring cup. That's going to make it too compact and you can wind up adding too much flour. So you'll scoop the flour into your measuring cup and then level off the top. Just like that, and you have a level scoop. That was 1 cup, and now I'll add my additional 1/2 cup. And then I'll mix this together on low speed. It's probably a little risky to wear black. That's pretty well combined, and now I'm going to add my final dry ingredient, 3 cups of rolled oats. And I'll mix this portion together by hand. This is not going to be a very wet cookie dough, and you'll also notice it doesn't include any eggs. Now I'm ready to get this into the baking pan. I have a 9x13 baking pan here, and I'm going to grease that with my reserved butter wrappers. Now if you let your butter soften in the wrappers, you're going to have plenty left on the sheet to grease up any standard pan. Now that I have the pan prepared, I'm going to add in 1/2 of my cookie dough mixture into the pan and press it down. Give this a firm press. You do want it to be fairly packed. Now this is where the recipe gets a little bit vague, but it's going to be fine. It specifies jelly or jam, but it doesn't tell you the amount, and it doesn't tell you what kind. So I'm going to be using cherry preserves, and I'll use enough that I get a good layer spread over this cookie base. So I'll just dot this over the top. until I have enough that I think I'll have a decent layer on there. I think that was probably about 1/4 of a cup, maybe 1/3 of a cup. And I'll spread this over the top, going to the edges. I'm gonna add in just a little bit more. This is definitely one where you have to eyeball it. All right, that looks good. The next ingredient is supposed to be raisins, but I couldn't find them at the grocery store anywhere. So I picked up some dried figs because I thought this would go really well with the cherry preserves. And dried fruit is dried fruit, so it seems like a good substitute. Once again, it doesn't specify how much to add, so I'm just gonna chop up a few into raisin-sized pieces and sprinkle that over the top until I feel like it has some good coverage. I'll slice off the tops where they have their stem, some of them do at least. And then I'll give these a good chop. If you can find raisins, or if you'd prefer to use another dried fruit, you're more than welcome to. I just love the flavor of figs, and I think they're gonna go really good with the cherry. These look like raisin-sized pieces to me, so I will just scoot over my cookie bars and sprinkle this over the top. Make sure they're evenly distributed. You want to get a little bit of fruit in every bite. This looks like a good amount. I think I did, I don't know, probably 1/3 cup, so that might be a good amount of raisins or whatever dried fruit you choose to use. Now I'm going to cover the top of these cookie bars with the remainder of my cookie dough and lightly pat that down before we bake it. So I'll just sprinkle this over the top. And I'll give this a gentle pat into place. This doesn't have to be as tightly packed as the bottom layer. This looks perfect and it's ready to go into the oven. It'll go into a 350-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes. I'm gonna check on it after 25, see how it's doing, and then we're gonna take it out to cool. Look at this, it just looks perfect and it smells so good. It's lightly golden brown on the top and a little bit more browned around the edges, and that's how you know it's done. I feel like the hardest part about this is waiting for it to cool, and they're still a little warm, honestly probably a little too warm, but I'm gonna cut into here and see how they turned out. They smell amazing. I'll just cut this into nice little squares here. I'm just gonna cut out one for now. And I can tell that if I waited, these would come out really nice, but this one's gonna fall apart because it's too warm. This smells just like my grandma's house and definitely brings back memories of baking with her. I know it's gonna come out amazing, so let's give this a try and see. And it did, so good. The combination of cherry preserves and figs came out amazing in this, so really you can use whatever flavor combination you like and make this your own. This is a super versatile and really easy recipe. I hope you give this a try and I hope you like it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell icon so you can get notified every time I post. As always, you can find the full recipe to this in the description box down below, and if you try this out, let me know how you like it in the comments. Hope to see you back here next time.